crew, I'm Belinda Risley and welcome to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast, the show designed for motorsport athletes, parents and support teams who want to accelerate their careers both on and off the track. Whether you're struggling to secure a sponsorship, grow your social media or understand the business side of racing, because yes, motorsport is a business, this podcast is here to help. Each episode, I'll share practical tips, advice and insights, often joined by industry experts, motorsport athletes who share their real-world experiences. So if you're ready to take your motorsport career to the next level, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, crew, and welcome to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast. I am your host, Belinda Risley, and I welcome those who are listening for the first time, and thanks those who have been listening for a while. Of course, team, if you do enjoy today's episode, I'd love it if you could please race over and leave us a review, or better still, share this episode with one of your racing family and friends, because in today's episode, team, I have the privilege of talking to the up-and-coming rally driver Taylor Gill, a rising star in the world of rally racing. From his early days in go-karting to competing in the Junior World Rally Championship, Taylor shares his journey and what it takes to succeed in this exhilarating sport. We dive into the challenges he faces, from finding the right co-driver to adapting to different terrains around the world. He also shares his insights on the importance of sponsorship and how he balances his life in Finland as a young driver living by himself, team. So you've got inspiration to go overseas and race internationally. This is a great episode where you can hear about the challenges that Taylor comes up against. Team, I do hope you enjoyed today's episode. As I said, if you can race over and leave us a review, it'd be greatly appreciated. But without further ado, here is Taylor. Hello, Taylor, and welcome to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me on.
I'm very excited because I've never had a Junior World Rally Champion before. So can you tell us a little bit about you and your career to date?
Yeah, my name is Taylor Gill. I'm 21 years old from the east coast of Australia, and I'm currently living in Finland and have been competing in Europe since 2023 with the support of the FIA Rally Star program. So yeah, this year I'm competing in the Junior World Rally Championship, and we won the first round in Sweden. So it's all kicked off quite well.
Fantastic. But let's go a few steps back. How did you even get started in rallying?
Yeah, basically my dad was into sort of motorsport and particularly rallying when I was a kid, or even before I was born. He was competing both as a co-driver and as a driver in small level state rallies in New South Wales and that sort of thing. And he also lived in New Zealand when he was a teenager and was sort of linked around Possumbourne in that sort of era, let's say. So yeah, that was how he sort of got into it, and then it kind of rolled on to me. I remember my 7th birthday, my presents consisted of a helmet and a race suit and boots and gloves and a neck brace and a brand new shiny go-kart, and it all kind of took off from there. So yeah, that was sort of how I got into motorsport in general and raced go-karts until I was 12 years old. And then basically when I was 12, that was when I started to do small events with cars, because that's basically the minimum age to start doing, motor carners, carnacrosses, that sort of thing. So yeah, then it's all kind of snowballed from there with motor carners, carnacrosses. And then when I was 14, started doing autocrosses and rally sprints. And then when I was 16, started rallying.
Fantastic. And for those who don't know a lot about the sport of rally, can you tell us a little bit about it? I think sometimes people only think about the crashes and it's crazy, it's in the woods, but there's a lot more to it. So can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's a simple sport in essence. The idea is to get from A to B as fast as possible, but it's very, very complex behind that. A world championship rally, for example, is normally 3 days long, sometimes 4 days long. But the rally week starts normally normally it's on the Monday before the weekend. We'll have like a pre-event test. The Tuesday and the Wednesday is spent driving around all the stages, all the roads that we'll compete on in the rally, making the pace notes. So we do a 2-pass reconnaissance over the 2 days where basically we'll drive through in a normal road car, speed limited to 60 or 80 kilometres an hour, and make the pace notes. So on the first pass, I'll basically describe the road to my co-driver Dan as I see it. He writes it all down. On the second pass, he'll read it back to me and we'll make some corrections and adjustments and that sort of thing. And we record the whole thing as well. So then we can go back and re-watch all the stages on the video and check the notes and everything. And then yeah, basically the rally starts. You have a centralized service park where we all leave from and where we come back to in the middle of the day normally, and yeah, basically we drive out and we might do a loop of 3 stages, for example, and then come back to the service park and have a 30-minute service and then do another 3 stages or the same 3 stages again, sort of thing. But one of the coolest things that I guess people don't understand so much about rallying, because you only see the videos of the flat out, the crashes, on stage action, is that the cars are all registered. We have number plates, we have indicators, everything you need to drive on the road, because in rallying we have to drive using the public roads to get from stage to stage. So it's one of the really cool elements of the sport, and it's also what makes the days really long, because when we're in Greece, for example, we might have to drive up to 150 kilometers just to get from one stage to the next. So it's long days, and there's a lot of elements that have to roll together to have a successful rally. So it's pretty satisfying when it does come together.
And so who's the boss, the driver or the co-driver?
I guess it depends on the situation, but the key thing is that the driver and co-driver have to work in really like perfect unison when we're in the stage, but also in the recce and in the lead up to the event. We have different roles, I suppose. In the lead up to a rally, the co-driver, for me, my co-driver Dan is doing all the work, with the maps and preparing, and so he knows where we have to go and what's the most efficient way to get around and all that side of things. For me, the lead up and preparation for an event is more focused on the stages that we're going to have to drive in anger, and trying to, put some of those stages into the memory of my brain a little bit, and try and understand the roads, understand what, some of the challenges we could face, and also doing our research on the previous editions of the rally of, where are common places where people have had accidents or been caught out, or there's a rough section, and that sort of thing. And then, when you get on the rally, it's really important to have, a strong working relationship, I suppose. It's almost gets compared to a marriage sometimes.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, how do you foster a relationship, or how do you even find a co-driver? Like, do you just get stuck together? Or is it a matter of like a trial and error, a hire and fire? How do you find the right co-driver that speaks the same language? Like, obviously different personality types, different communication styles. Obviously communication is key. Do you do training together? Like, do you do a key strength finder before you go?
Yeah.
Or is it just like a referrals? Tell me about that. I'm so excited.
Yeah. It can be a bit of a trial and error thing. Like I said, you really have to gel with the person. Dan lives here with me in Finland. We both live in the same apartment, so that makes it quite easy to work together, because not only are we working together in the rally car, we're also basically working together day to day, living together and everything like that, which kind of fast tracks our ability to work well together. But I've also had previous co-drivers before Dan when I was rallying in Australia, and everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, but ultimately as the driver, you need to have full confidence in the co-driver. And as soon as you start to lack that, then the speed just disappears, basically. So, of course, there's an element of you have to be able to get along, but I wouldn't say you have to be best friends with your co-driver. You have to be able to get along, work well together. And if you get along really well, then it's a bonus, let's say.
All right, so now you said that you're roommates, right? And so we know there's always like roommate issues, like when the toilet paper runs out, or if there's not enough milk, or the toilet seat thing. How do you guys rectify all those issues? Obviously, being teammates as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've just got to communicate and be honest with each other. Like, ultimately, when we're in the rally car, we have full trust in each other. We have to have full trust in each other. So, if we can't trust each other at home around the house, then how are we ever going to trust each other in the heat of the moment in the rally car when the pressure's on? So, there's not a lot to it. Sometimes you just got to have the hard conversations and, get things done.
Wow. I'm just like, conversations. How do you have those, Taylor? How do you address it? Like, obviously, if one of you make a mistake, and it could be like, as you can see, like quite timely and quite critical, even life-defying in rallying. So how do you guys address all of that? And have you had others really?
Nah, not really, fortunately. There's always small things, and even when, for example, we won the rally in Sweden, but we still spent an hour debriefing, picking up little things that we could have done better, we should have done better, maybe we could do this differently, this worked, this didn't work. There's always stuff to take away. Fortunately, I mean, I can't remember any times where anything's gone majorly wrong, but you always have little things here and there that that pop up, and it's also having an understanding of it is a high pressure environment, and it's so unbelievably rare that everything goes perfect. You never come out of a rally weekend and think that's it. We couldn't have done anything better. There's always something that comes up, and you just got to be able to, I guess, document that and work it into the routine moving forward.
So this is your life, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. There's not much else that goes on.
All right. Well, you did mention, Taylor, you're part of the FIA Rally Star program. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how people can get involved in it, and then what the kind of steps or opportunity it opens up for you?
Yeah, basically the Rally Star program is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Sort of the idea came for the program in back after 2019, early 2020, and then the program was obviously sort of halted because of COVID. And basically, it was it's like a talent detection program that ran worldwide. So they ran basically a final in every continent, and I was fortunate enough to win the Asia Pacific final. So I was sent there as a wild card by Motorsport Australia. There is a few different ways you could qualify. They did sim challenges. There was also some slalom challenges and that sort of thing. I was fortunate enough to go as a wild card. I had to go to India to do a 3-day final, basically. And it was like 3 days of just people critiquing and writing down and documenting every move you made, basically. We did, obviously we were driving cross carts, so little single-seater buggies, which were really difficult to drive. But I think that's kind of the idea, because if you can adapt to one of those, then yeah, exactly, yeah. So, that was a big part of it. We also did some fitness testing. We had to do a beep test. They tested our reactions. We had to do a sit-down interview style thing, I suppose. And then they basically at the end of that picked one driver, and fortunately that was me. So it was quite an intense 3 days, and it's probably the most pressure I've ever felt in my sort of driving career, I suppose.
So Taylor, you're 21 and you're living in Finland by yourself, or did your parents go with you? Is this your first international trip living by yourself? Do they even speak English there? I don't know.
Yeah, fortunately the English level in Finland is quite good, so that's been really helpful. But basically it was just, Dan and I moved over in March 2023, and so I was only 20 at the time, I suppose, 19 even. And basically just packed my life into 2 suitcases and come over here. Fortunately, we had some really good connections in Finland that helped us organise things. Like we had an apartment basically organised before even arriving, so we were able to sleep in the same place since day one, and that made things quite a lot easier. But for me, I mean, people have asked quite a lot about do I get homesick and miss home, and of course I miss home and I miss the people, and you miss your family and friends and that sort of thing. But at the same time, I was so wide-eyed by the adventure to come, and like you've sort of touched on, I'm basically living my dream, still am. So that is kind of what gives me the excitement and the motivation to keep going. Because of course you have days where it's a bit boring, and all you want to do is be with your friends and be with your family and that sort of thing, and you get the FOMO kicking in. But it's always comes back to the fact that I'm living 14-year-old Taylor's absolute dream. So it's pretty cool like that.
And is this your full-time job? Do you classify yourself to be a professional motorsport athlete, or are you working part-time, or what are you doing over there you mentioned Monday, Tuesday, but you're not racing every single weekend? Yeah.
I wish I was racing every single weekend, but it's quite a unique sort of a scenario because, the Junior World Championship is only 5 rallies. So it's only basically 5 weeks of the year. We're trying to organise to do some other stuff around that, and there's always a few little bits and pieces that come up. But around that, basically I'm working as a mechanic for a rally team just in the same village that I live in here. So that's all kind of tied in with the connections and guys who have helped set us up in Finland, and they have a couple of rally cars, also a Fiesta Rally 3, which is the same model of car that I race. So that's quite handy for me to, be able to get my hands dirty on that. And it's a nice thing as well because in Australia I was an apprentice mechanic, and I basically quit that to move overseas. But, it's nice to still get my hands dirty.
Yeah, of course. And it's such a great skill to have as a motorsport athlete to know how your vehicle actually performs. So that's fantastic. So Taylor, what has been the biggest challenge of competing in the Junior World Racing Rally Championship?
Probably just the step up in the level of competition, and how meticulous you have to be to get all the pieces of the puzzle in place to bring a good result out, I suppose. When I was competing in Australia, of course, I was still learning, and it's no real secret that the level, not only in Australia but in a lot of national championships around the world, the level of competition is nowhere near as high as in the World Championship. It's almost easy for me to forget that in the Junior World Championship, it's the fastest junior drivers in the world. So it's a big step up, I suppose. And this is my second year competing in the championship, and last year I really found that I had to up the level and up the commitment, and you have to take more risks, and you have to put the work in behind the scenes to bring out the good results, because otherwise it doesn't just happen for you. So that's probably the biggest single thing that's stood out, I suppose.
Yeah, what would you say would have been the most memorable rally or stage so far? Any wild stories?
Oh, there's always something that comes up. I mean, some of the stages we did in the Acropolis Rally in Greece last year were just unbelievable. So rough, so rocky. I mean, you would consider it a four-wheel drive track in Australia. It's incredible, the roads that we drive on in some of these rallies, and also the long days. I drove the car 140 kilometers on the freeway doing 120, 130 k's an hour in the flogging down rain with a broken rear control arm and the wheels tucking in and out, and the car handling all over the place. It's 1 a.m, it's raining, I'm tired, I'm falling asleep. It's like that sort of thing is quite crazy. But also we did Rally Finland last year, and that was our first win in the junior WRC, so that was a huge moment, and there was quite a few Aussies there to celebrate with us, and it was very emotional at the finish line. It was such a hard-fought rally. We kept having things come up. We kept getting knocked back down. We had flat tires. We had the radiator blocked with mud at one point, and the car went into limp mode, and just so much sort of happened. And in the end, we won the rally by only just over 2 seconds after 300 k's of racing. So it's such a cool sport. There's so much that happens. There's so many adventures, and also just the difference in the rallies. I've just come off Rally Sweden, which is on snow. Our next one is in Portugal. It's rough, twisty gravel. We go to Greece, which is super rough gravel. Finland, also gravel, but crazy fast, high speed, hard packed. And then the last round of the year is on tarmac. So you really have to be quite adaptable to all the different surfaces and conditions.
Yeah, so you just mentioned that training, competing at different terrains. Yeah. What does your physical training look like, and your mental preparation going into each of the events, especially only during 5 races per year? So I'll just take one step back, but so what's your physical training like to go racing into the snow, obviously to multiple dry conditions?
Yeah, I guess it does vary a little bit depending on the rally, but generally speaking, I'm sort of exercising 5 to 6 times a week, and I really enjoy running. So especially when I'm in Australia, I do a lot of running, 5 or 6 times a week, out for running, and also going to the gym and that sort of thing as well. I guess probably an advantage of coming from Australia is that I don't really struggle so much with the heat and the hot rallies and that sort of thing. I don't feel like I have to work extra hard or do heat training before a hot rally, because I'm quite accustomed to that already. And I've done the hottest rallies I've done have probably still been in Australia. So from that sort of thing, it makes it a little bit easier compared to, I know some other guys who, get in the sauna and sweat it out and have to train like that before a hot rally to get used to it. And yeah, on the mental side, I work with a sports psychologist and have done for 12 months now. And it's been a really big help for me because, as people know, motorsport is so much in your own head, and especially rallying when there's so much going on. There's so many thoughts and emotions that can swirl around your head, especially in the lead up to an event. When you only do 5 rallies in the year, my next rally is not for 2 months now, and I'm basically going to have 2 months thinking about it every day. So a lot can build up in your own mind, and it's good to have techniques to be able to kind of get rid of that and make sure you don't take extra baggage in the car with you.
So obviously I can see you and I know you that you're quite petite, you're not a muscular, you're like a motorsport athlete. So how do you go in the snow? I'm just looking at you, I'm looking so cold.
Yeah, it is cold, to be fair. It's a weird sort of a sensation actually, because in the car we have to run the heaters, the blowers, the windscreen demisters and that sort of thing to stop the windows fogging up, but that means it can get quite warm in the car still. So from that side, it's no real different when you're actually doing the driving and competing. You're still sweating, and it's, okay, it's not as hot as racing in 40 degrees in the Greek mountains, but it's warm enough in the car. And then you just have to be mindful. One sort of thing or technique, I suppose, that I've used in Sweden is, as soon as I get out of the car after a stage, you normally stop, you take your helmet off, you check the tire pressures and everything before you have to drive maybe 30 or 40 kilometers to the next stage. And I would get out of the car and put my jacket on straight away. Even though I'm sweating and hot, you put the big jacket on, because you know that 5 minutes down the road, when you stop sweating, you cool down and the wind chill starts to come in through the roof, and it's going to get cold. So it's not an easy event from that side. There's also little things like it's cold, so you forget that how much water you need to drink and that sort of thing, because you're not really thirsty. So it can be really easy to get dehydrated at a rally like that. There's a few small things, so long as you're aware of it and on the ball, then it's not so bad. But when you go to a rally like that for your first time, then it's quite an experience.
Now, Taylor, I'm going to ask an awkward question, but I feel like the question needs to be asked, the toilet question. Like, when you got to go, do you go? Or like, what's the protocol? Or do you have something special in the car? Because it's 6 hours and 12 hours, so it's been...
Yeah, I guess, fortunately, if you have to go in a stage, then that's quite a big problem. But normally before and after every stage is just a quick wee on the side of the road.
I mean, you're not a female, so for me here, I'm like a pregnant, like not a pregnant, but like, had babies in my pelvic floor.
Yeah. Yeah, fortunately, it's not too much of an issue, but without going into too much detail, it has caught me before where I've been a bit sick between two stages and had to knock on someone's front door once. So that was a bit of an awkward scenario, yeah, but fortunately it doesn't happen too often.
No, but I feel like we don't talk about those stuff because it's taboo. Like, I know we're going to even with anything, like any event, like sometimes like the anxiety of being a main final or the last race of the championship, you get that anxiety, and then they're racing. It's like, do you go or what do you do? And I feel like it's kind of a taboo thing that we don't talk about. Anyway, we'll move forward from that. Now, we know motorsport is expensive. How have you approached securing sponsorship and building relationships with partners being in Finland? And then we're going to talk about how you've built up. What does sponsorship look like?
Yeah, it's always it's a tricky thing, or it's not an easy thing to build up, and firstly, I'm quite fortunate with the Rally Star program. Basically are paying and investing for me to be here and do this championship. That gives me the platform, I suppose, and the opportunity to compete overseas in general. And then I have lots of quite a few loyal Australian companies that have come on board and been, good personal supporters. And without that support, it's basically impossible to try and do any extra driving or extra testing and that sort of thing. And also I've had some Finnish friends and companies that have been supporting me a little bit last year. And also we're sort of piecing together some of those deals for this year as well to help us get a few more ideas across the line for this year. So, for me, the biggest probably lesson I've learned is you just never burn your bridges, and you never know who's out there watching. And no one likes to, pick up the phone and ring and ask for money and ask for sponsorship and that sort of thing. And I don't like it either, but it's one of the things that's got to be done if you want to make a career from the sport. So yeah, like I touched on a second ago, it's not an easy thing to do, but it's got to be done.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Obviously, you're a motorsport athlete, a parent, or someone in a team looking to take your career to the next level. But have you checked out the Driver's Toolkit? It's the ultimate resource to help you get started with sponsorship, build your brand, and grow your social media. Plus, it covers motorsport-specific fitness, nutrition, and mindset strategies to keep you performing at your best. So if you're serious about making an impact on and off the track, this is for you. Head over to motivatetraining.com.au/toolkit to learn more and gain instant access. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah, and tell us a little bit about Finnish motorsports. I don't know very much about it. Is it a big community in motorsports? Is there many tracks there? Overall, from all the different kind of genres of motorsports, or I'd love to know.
Motorsport in general is big in Finland, but rallying in particular is massive. It's basically the national sport, I would say. It's a bit like the equivalent of the cricket in Australia. It's huge. There's rallies every weekend, and they're always fully subscribed. 170 cars all over the place. Summertime, wintertime, they absolutely love it. You go down to the supermarket, and people are wearing rally merchandise. Everyone knows about the sport. When the WRC round comes here, Rally Finland, it's the biggest event of the year. It's absolutely huge. So I guess that's it's part of one of the reasons why we, pushed to move here and live here, because it's opened up opportunities for us as well. Even just little things to be able to go out to test days, go for rides in the car, and the connections and everything. It's, it's almost like the hub for motorsport in Europe.
Wow, that's so exciting. So I know the US fans are crazy. It's their religion. Is that the same over there? And what do you do for fan engagements and sponsorship activations over there with the fans? Are they a little bit more polite? Are they like US, or they're like the Aussie ones?
Yeah, they're quite polite. I mean, Finns are known for being pretty quiet, I suppose. But yeah, there's a big culture for rallying over here, like I touched on a second ago, and they love getting out in the forest and spectating, and finding all the places for all the cars to crash so they can pull them back onto the road and that sort of thing. It's quite a unique sort of a thing, but it's really wild when you compete here, and even just walking around the service park, where the cars are based and getting worked on during a rally week. There's so many spectators and there's so much fan engagement. I suppose people know who you are, and it's really, really cool. They follow it super closely.
Wow. So I'm going to go touch base about social media then and content creation, because we've been focusing on that inside the Motorsport Sponsorship Club. And we're saying it's always kind of like the crashes that gets the most, engagements and likes and shares. And obviously that's kind of like your world, unfortunately, and like that environment. What do you feel is right in social media? And do you do your own social media? Does the car have a camera? Tell us about how you go about doing your social media creation.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not most drivers' favourite thing in the world, doing the social media side of things. But I mean, it's one of the things that's got to be done. When I'm competing, I don't do it. I have a good friend of mine who does my social media for me, because it's impossible to try and do it properly when you're in the middle of competing. But we also, we have the camera in the car, which is recording all the stages. And, fortunately at these World Championship rallies, we get so much footage given to us from the organisers. Also, our Rally Star program has a guy who follows us around basically with a camera non-stop. So he films all the action as well. And then it all gets cut together into reels and posts and that sort of thing. But, for me, then obviously between the events, trying to come up with the ideas can be tricky as well. But, I always find posting little bits of onboard footage is engaging. That's what people like to see, when we're driving the car on stage, and I guess when we're in the main environment of competing, but also, behind the scenes footage is always cool. And I mean, I always approach it in the way of what I would want to watch or what would make me bored. So why would I not want to post that versus why I would want to post something? That's kind of how I sort of work around it when I'm doing it myself.
Yeah, so it definitely needs to be a purpose. And now my recommendation to you is that I want to know more about the Finnish fans and the community over there that you've just been speaking of, because I haven't seen any of that on the socials. So I'd love to know more about that. And I think even from Australian sponsors' perspective, they'd love to know too, because the sheer fact that you just said this is like Australian cricket is amazing. So if people are looking to come on board with you, just knowing that demographical reach and the kind of fans that are interested in rallying driver over them. So that's what I like. Thanks.
No worries.
Okay, thanks. Now, Taylor, what has been some of your biggest challenges? Obviously, being a young driver, moving to Finland. Obviously, you don't have that family support. You have Dan, and you have the race team, which has been fantastic. But apart from that, what are some of the other challenges we spoke about? Obviously, they speak English there, which is fantastic. But that you've faced in your journey of going across.
Probably the biggest challenges come, especially when we first moved over here, and it's the stuff that people don't see as well. Things like, first of all, when you're in Australia and you live at home, if you need to buy something, say you want to buy a cheap toaster, that you just run down to Kmart and you can get one, $7, whatever. You've got a toaster. We're sitting in our apartment here going, okay, we need to buy a frying pan, but where do we go? That's the sort of tricky thing. Or the first few times we went grocery shopping, you spend hours in there trying to translate everything to make sure you buy ham instead of turkey or whatever, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And, stuff like buying a car was a relatively straightforward process because we had a friend that sorted a lot for us. But then, trying to organise the insurance for it was a real nightmare because we're foreigners. Trying to get bank accounts when you're a foreigner is a nightmare. Yeah. Trying to get bank accounts is a difficult thing, and I don't think it really matters what country you're in. It's always a tricky thing. And also then the big applications of trying to secure like residence permits so that we're allowed to stay, because there's quite strict rules about only being able to stay for 90 days, etc. That's probably where the biggest challenges have come from. Of course, on the sporting side, there's also been big challenges, but it's almost a whole different kettle of fish. Sometimes the life side of it can be more stressful because it's a bit more in the unknown. And fortunately, I've had Dan to support me quite a lot because he's lived out of home since he was 16, basically. So he's been really supportive on that side. If I came over by myself, then maybe it would be a bit more difficult. But now that we've kind of got it sorted, I mean, it feels more like home here than when I'm in Australia because, since 2023, this is where I live. This is my bedroom. This is my bed. This is my apartment. I've got my own car here. This is where I'm based.
And that's right, because you've got your brand now. You've got your identity. Like prior to being 19, you were still like learning out who it was and what you wanted to be. And when I grow up, I want to be X. And now you are being X. Yep. Taylor, do your family get across there often, or do you get home often, or it's not really a thing yet?
Probably not as often as I would like. I mean, of course, I would love to go home, all the time and see friends and family and that sort of thing. But it's first of all, it's expensive to fly backwards and forwards, and also when I'm here, I'm fully focused on the job at hand and on the upcoming rallies. Fortunately, I've been quite lucky that my family and especially my father has come to a few rallies last year, also in 2023. And the plan is that they'll come to a couple this year as well. So it's really nice to have the family support. And also last year we had a few friends come over for especially the rally in Finland, and also when we went to Greece, which was the championship decider. And it's really nice to have familiar faces around. I mean, some people have probably the stance that it can be a distraction having family and friends there when you're trying to race. And, I can sort of see where that sits. But for me, having familiar faces, people that are from the same country, the same culture, there's no language barrier, there's no, people that know you so well, your best mates, family. I mean, it doesn't get much better than having them there supporting you.
No, I agree 100%. So that leads me to the question, do you have a special somebody there?
Not at the moment, not coming over to the events, no.
What about Dan? Does he have a special somebody over there too? Like,
no, it's just the two of us here. So yeah, it's gets a bit boring sometimes.
It's just like the girlfriend of the partner, like the housemate moves, it all gets a little bit complicated.
Yeah, it does gets a bit complicated, but not at that scenario yet.
Fantastic. Good to hear. And so when you're not mechanicking, you're not at a racetrack, what do you like to do over there? What are some of the hobbies and interests? Have you taken up squash, or do they have a funky like cricket thing sport that they do over there?
I mean, they do have a few things like that, but to be honest, I've been asked this question before, and my life's pretty boring. Like, it's pretty much gym, work, sleep. And if I'm not doing any of those three things, then I'm normally watching rally videos. So I'm pretty, I guess, narrow-minded in that sort of regard. But it's a weird sort of a thing because, it is also nice to have time off or time, not thinking about rallying. But for me, when I'm in Australia, that's probably more the time where I like to tune out a bit. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, when I'm in Finland, then there's not so much else to do. So I'm passionate about it, so I prefer to just keep watching the videos, watching onboards, studying for the next event. Whatever it is, there's always something rallying related, and it always revolves back to the rallying.
You boys, do you cook, Taylor? Do you cook?
No, that's quite a simple answer.
I was going to go in like, have you done it?
No. We on the cooking side, I'm not very good. Dan, fortunately, looks after most of that, so it's been quite helpful. But I mean, obviously, I'm doing other jobs around the house and that sort of thing, and we have a system worked out, let's say.
beautiful. That's the communication style thing. Hey?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that you've got 5 rounds. So talk to us about where the 5 rounds are in 2025.
Yep. So the first round was in Sweden. That was a couple of weeks ago. Next, we go to Portugal, which will be a nice rally, actually. Roads look probably similar to Australia in some regards, big gum trees on the side of the road and that sort of thing. From Portugal, we go to Greece, which will be super rough, really rocky terrain. We did the rally last year, and it's really, really crazy, demanding mentally, physically, hot. It's a really, really tricky event. After Greece, we go to Rally Finland, which we also did last year. I touched on before, and it's super fast, high speed, wide roads, jumps, crests, really, really tricky to drive and get the maximum out of the car, and quite scary, to be honest. In places, it's really keeps you on your toes. So that's a tricky one, but also one I'm looking forward to. And the year finishes with the Central European Rally, which is a tarmac event actually based in Germany, but has stages in Germany, in Austria, and in the Czech Republic. So tricky tarmac event in the sort of autumn time. So it gets a bit cold and wet and can be, difficult conditions, but it'll be an event we have to try and do well at because that'll be our championship decider.
Now, Taylor, you just mentioned some amazing travel places. Do you have time and do you travel before and after each event? Like you said, there's only like 5 weeks and you're kind of there like the week before, but then do you stay for like 2 weeks and, I don't know, rest and relax and recover, see the sights? And how much, travel have you been able to do in the last 2 years?
Yeah, I have done a bit, and there has been a couple of rallies where I've arrived a couple of days earlier or stayed a couple of days, or after Greece last year. My mum and dad were there, and we stayed for a couple of weeks after the rally, which was really nice. And, for example, I had a stop over in London after one rally, so I stayed with some friends in London for a few days and got to see the city and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it is cool because I'd always sort of wanted to, travel, and especially travel Europe, especially when I was a kid growing up watching Formula One. You see these places like Monaco and Spa and, Italy, and you want to travel to these sort of places. And it was always a bit of a dream for me to do that, and to be able to not only compete in Europe, but also see the sights and be a mechanic, which I enjoy doing as well, is really, really cool. So, yeah, I have been fortunate to travel, probably not seen as much as I would have liked to, of course, but there's always more to see. So, we'll get to a couple of new countries this year and hopefully be able to explore a bit more.
So when you travel on your the travel cards and it says occupation, do you now put professional race car driver?
Nah, not really. It's probably one of those scenarios where it would be easier to just write down that I'm a builder or something. But yeah, exactly. It depends what I have to write down. Sometimes it's rally driver. Sometimes I write down that I'm a mechanic.
Oh, really? And what do you think needs to happen for you to actually say, I'm a motorsport professional athlete?
I guess the biggest situation is that and quite similar to Formula One and even I think Super 2 in Australia and that sort of thing, is that we don't get paid in these lower support categories. So, we have to find ways to, earn a living around that, hence why I work as a mechanic and that sort of thing. So maybe the day that I get a paycheck from a professional team and all I've done is drive and, get paid for that, then I'll start writing down that I'm a full professional.
Yeah. So what is the big plan? What's the big goals over the next couple of years?
Yeah, the goal is to keep pushing up towards the Rally 1 category, which is the top category in the World Championship. We have a big regulation change coming in 2027, and hopefully that can sort of work into our favour and open more seats. But ultimately, this year in the Junior World Championship is basically like a do or die season for me, because basically if I win the championship this year, I will step up to the WRC2 category, which is the next step up, which is exciting. But we have to win the championship. If we don't win the championship this year, then the Rally Star program ceases, let's say. So then it would be probably back to Australia after that. So, I guess all the pressure comes onto this year, and we're pouring everything in it to make that happen. And, fortunately we started in the best possible way by winning the first round.
Yes, fantastic. But you also do have your supporters club that people can get aboard and help financially secure your goals and your dreams. What is it exactly, and how can people get on board?
Yeah, basically the supporters club is something we set up at the start of last year for general fans and people that want to support and get involved financially. And it's quite an open book. We start at $150, and then we have also people that pay more than that and, support us on, to more of an extent and that sort of thing. So it's been a really good way for, people to engage with us and also for me to, to give something back to these supporters. And we're sending out regular updates and exclusive content and that sort of thing. You can sign up by heading to my website, which is just taylorgillmotorsport.com/supporters.
Fantastic. Now we're going to get in some of the fun facts again. If you could drive any race car in anywhere in the world, what would it be and at what track?
I would probably drive a Toyota GR Yaris Rally 1 car on Empoja, which is a legendary rally stage in Finland. Fortunately, I got to drive the stage last year in my Rally 3 car, and it's super difficult, but that would probably be the dream.
Wow. Okay. Don't have that one in my bank, so that's fantastic. Good. I love the answer. But yeah, I just want to know, like, what do you do for like reaction training? I'm just kind of like thinking, going through the motion. Do you do a lot more? Like, is it something that you do every single day, or is it again something because you have been born into the sport that you're kind of naturally faster reaction, or like?
Yeah.
Are you doing blaze pods? Are you doing?
Yeah. I have the blaze pods, so they're quite helpful. But I think also there is probably an element of, because I've been doing it for so long, my reflexes are naturally good, I suppose. So yeah, fortunately, it's of course.
Pod. What do we get? What are we at?
What was the question? Sorry, I missed that.
Like 30 seconds on the blaze pods. Six pods.
Oh, six pods. I'm not sure. I think maybe like 4 pods. If you line up 4 pods, 1, 2, 3, 4, 30 seconds. In Sweden, I got like 74.
Beautiful. All right.
In 30 seconds. So that was. I think that was not too bad. I think it was like an average reaction time of 0.27 or something.
Wow.
Can always be better though.
Yeah, correct. Of trying to and like my kids are doing like the bottle flip things, and like they do funny kind of like reaction stuff other than the blaze pods. I mean, but they're 12 though. Do you do other things other than blaze pods for reaction testing?
Not so much. No, I have one of those little like reflex balls that you can drop and it bounces in any direction or whatever. But apart from that, which I don't do that so frequently. It's more of a fun thing when I'm getting bored. But apart from the blaze pods, which again I do use, but not so much. It's not like I'm doing them every day. That's really the extent of it when it comes to the reaction training.
So how do you warm up for a race?
Normally the morning of each competitive day, I do a warm-up with the team physio, his Polish guy, Marek, who helps us out quite a lot. So I'll do like a 10 or 15 minute warm-up with him. And then, but obviously it can be tricky because, I can warm up with him, but then I might have to drive 100 kilometers to get to the first stage. And there's an hour and a half, 2 hours, between doing the warm-up and actually starting the competitive driving. So normally, before I put my helmet on, I just like to move my legs, move my arms, and, get in the car and, just like twist and loosen up my back and that sort of thing. Nothing too extreme, but, enough to just get warmed up and, get all the juices flowing, I suppose. And it's always a bit of an exciting thing when before the first stage of the rally, you might stop 2Ks before you get to the start line, so you can check your tire pressures and put your helmets on. And normally all the cars are sort of stopped in the same sort of area, and you can hear all the cars idling, and you can feel the tension, and that in itself kind of starts to get you warmed up. So yeah, it's a pretty cool feeling.
And is your category, the Junior World Championship, is that streamed online? Like, can Australians watch it over here?
Yes, sort of. It's a bit of a tricky thing because Rally TV, which is basically the program that is run by the championship promoter, they live stream every stage for all the top category cars, and there's normally 1 or 2 stages where they live stream the junior cars as well. And then in Sweden, they also live streamed on YouTube stuff like the start ceremony. There was a press conference they streamed, and also the finish, the finish line and the podium and that sort of thing. So it's a tricky thing, and it can be, rallying in general is a tricky sport to follow as well. But yeah, fortunately, it seems to be getting better and better and easier, but it's still not an easy thing to follow.
Yeah, you think they'll be utilizing the drones a lot? Do they do drones?
Yeah, they do drones, but also the helicopter is more the main thing. Not so much on us junior cars, but on the top level cars, always the helicopter shots are the go-to.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though. Like it's so
Yep.
different to like circuit or speedway, like as far as that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Taylor, what would you have told your 14-year-old self if you were starting out again? What to do going forward to pursue your motorsport career in rally?
Oh, it's a big question.
I know.
I mean, the obvious answer that comes first to your mind is just to never give up and never stop believing, let's say, because, when I was 14, I had this really strong passion and dream to go to the World Rally Championship. And then as I probably started to get a little bit older and started to realize the money and how much it costs and that sort of thing, then it probably started to dwindle away a little bit. And then, fortunately, Rally Star came in at the right time and picked me up, and if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't be over here. But it's also crazy for me to think that at the start of 2022, my eyes were probably more set on the Australian Rally Championship and trying to win that, or trying to be the youngest person to win that was sort of the primary goal at the front of my mind. But as soon as I got the opportunity with Rally Star, then you really had to take the ball and run with it. And yeah, going back to, I guess, the original question, you probably just relax and just everything will within reason, everything will fall into place. You have to work for it and you have to make it all happen for you, and you have to build the connections and make the phone calls and put in the time and put in the effort. But if you do everything, then you have to trust as well that it's, it'll come around.
Hard-hitting question now. Pineapple on pizzas.
Oh, absolutely. Only pineapple on pizzas.
I think so too.
100%. Yeah, I'm a Hawaiian or nothing.
Correct. Are the pizzas good over there?
Oh, it depends where you are, but actually I talk myself up a little bit here, but I think I make quite a good homemade pizza here, so I enjoy a homemade pizza, but it depends actually, because I'm probably going to upset some Italians here, but I'm yet to have like a really good pizza in Italy, so that's something I'm still searching for.
All right, well, we'll go back to Finland though. What's their main food over there? And talk about food.
Probably, I don't really think Finland has like a primary signature dish. They love their seafood over here, and I'm not having seafood, so not for me. Actually, generally speaking, I'm a really picky eater, so that doesn't play into my strength so much. But yeah, as far as like the national dish of Finland, honestly, I couldn't tell you what it is.
All right. Well, there's some research for you, and I look forward to seeing that on your social media accounts. Taylor, where can people actually find or follow your journey? Like, what's the best social media platform?
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook are the main ones, and I also have a YouTube page where I'm posting some footage, and I make basically like a rally review video after every rally where I sit on the couch and talk about how it went and show some footage and that sort of thing. So yeah, they're probably the main three social medias to follow me on.
And to sign up or to engage in or to find out more information about your supporters club?
Yeah, you can head to my website, www.taylorgillmotorsport.com/supporters. Basically, you fill in like a Google form, and then we'll send you an email with the payment details. And then we send you you get a hat and a lanyard and keyring and a few other little bits and pieces. So yeah, it's a really cool way for fans to support us.
Fantastic. And do you have any last words for any aspiring motorsport athletes, any category, anywhere in the world that is wanting to basically pursue their dreams?
You have to work for it. It's, there's boring days and days where you don't want to watch footage or don't want to look at data, or, you'd rather stay in bed or whatever, but you have to work for it. I've always seen as well, it's quite easy to see when you compete. For example, in the Junior World Championship, it's always pretty obvious which drivers are putting in the work and which drivers are doing their homework properly. And the drivers that aren't are normally the ones that are sitting on the side of the road somewhere. So that's probably the biggest thing. You have to work for it, and you have to really want it.
I'm so inspired. I want to come and watch. I'm like, send me, I want to know more. Taylor, thank you so much for being today's guest. As I said, I've got a lot out of it. I'm really inspired about your journey, and I look forward and wish you all the very best for the rest of the 2025 race season.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on here and speak with you.
Yeah, and so team, all of Taylor's links will be in today's show notes. Please race over, and if you can support his supporters club, that would be fantastic. He can continue living the rally dream. When was the last time Australia had a rally champion?
Australia has never had a champion in the World Championship in any category. So there's been a few guys and girls that have done the Junior World Championship, and Chris Atkinson was the last full-time driver we had in the WRC. So hopefully we can be the next one. I
remember his car blue and the fluoro yellow or green, whichever way you look at it. But yes, no, I remember that car too. Well, we hope that it's going to be you, Taylor. I'm so excited again. So thank you once again. I'd love to have you on another 12 months, and hopefully you have been successful in your pursuit this year and has taken the step up. Anyway, all the very best and good luck.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Well, team, and that's a wrap for another episode of the Motorsport Coaching Podcast. I hope you found it valuable and picked up some insights to help you on your motorsport journey. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to subscribe on your preferred listening platform, leave a review, and share it with fellow motorsport athletes. Don't forget to follow Motivate Training on social media for even more tips and resources. However, if you'd like to take things further and work with Motivate, race over to motivatetraining.com.au and learn more about our Drivers Toolkit, the Motor Sponsorship Club, Accelerator Coaching, and of course our Do It For You management program. All of these programs are designed to help you build your brand, secure sponsorship, and grow your career. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.